fixed-wing military aircraft known as fighters are created primarily for air-to-air combat. The purpose of fighter aircraft in armed conflict is to establish air superiority over the battlefield. Bombers and attack planes can bomb enemy targets tactically and strategically when they control the airspace above a conflict. Along with its weaponry, a fighter's important performance characteristics include its high speed and mobility in relation to the target aircraft. The ability of a combatant's pilots, the tactical soundness of its fighter deployment doctrine, the quantity and effectiveness of those jets, and other elements all have a role in whether or not it is able to achieve air superiority. Many contemporary fighter aircraft also possess auxiliary capabilities, such as those for ground attack, and other types, like fighter bombers, are built from the ground up to perform multiple functions. The interceptor, heavy fighter, and night fighter are three additional fighter types that are highly specialized while still performing the primary air superiority function. Air-to-air combat is the main purpose of a fighter aircraft. A particular type may be created for particular combat scenarios and, in some situations, for additional functions like air-to-ground warfare. Up until the early 1920s, the British Royal Flying Corps and Royal Air Force referred to them as Scouts, and up until the late 1940s, the U.S. Army referred to them as pursuit aircraft. In the 1920s, the UK began referring to them as fighters, while the U.S. Army did so in the 1940s. An interceptor is a short-range fighter built to counter incoming enemy aircraft. The fighter bomber, reconnaissance fighter, and strike fighter classes are among those that can perform a variety of roles on the battlefield. Some fighter designs might be modified to carry out wholly different missions, such as unarmed reconnaissance or ground attack. This could be done for commercial, national security, or even political objectives. The air superiority fighter arose as a distinct function when fighter types multiplied, reaching the peak of speed, maneuverability, and air-to-air weaponry able to compete with all other fighters and establish its supremacy in the skies above the conflict. The interceptor is a fighter developed particularly to track down and engage in combat with oncoming hostile aircraft. There are two main classifications of interceptor: light, point defense aircraft constructed for quick response, high performance, and limited range, and heavy, all-weather, sophisticated avionics-equipped aircraft built to fly at night or over extended distances. The interceptor was the name given to this kind of fighters, which first appeared during World War I. When flying at night or in bad visibility, the equipment required for daylight flight is insufficient. In order to help the pilot fly straight, navigate, and locate the target, the night fighter was designed during World War I. The night fighter, which began as modified B.E.2CS from the Royal Aircraft Factory in 1915, has developed into an extremely capable all-weather fighter. The strategic fighter is a quick, heavily equipped, and long-range variant that can cover bombers by acting as an escort fighter, conduct its own offensive missions as a penetration fighter, and maintain standing patrols far from its home base. Due of their slow speed, hefty size, and awkward maneuverability, bombers are weak. During World War II, the escort fighter was created to act as a barrier between enemy attackers and bombers. The main need was for long range, and several heavy fighters were assigned the task. However, they too proved cumbersome and weak, so as the conflict went on, strategies like drop tanks were developed to increase the range of more agile conventional aircraft. The penetration fighter can protect itself while carrying out attack sorties because it is often equipped for the ground attack role as well. For historical reasons, it has become customary in the aviation world to group jet fighters into generations. These generations don't have official definitions, rather, they stand for different stages in the evolution of fighter design concepts, performance capabilities, and technology. Jet fighters have been divided into many generations by various authors. A sixth-generation jet fighter, according to Richard P. Hollion of the Secretary of the Air Force's Action Group, is the F-16. Fourth-generation fighters were outfitted with more advanced avionics and armament systems and maintained the trend toward multi-role designs. Colonel John Boyd and mathematician Thomas Christie's energy maneuverability (EM) theory, which was based on Boyd's combat experience in the Korean War and his work as an instructor of fighter tactics in the 1960s, had a significant impact on the development of fighters. The importance of aircraft-specific energy maintenance as a fighter combat advantage was underlined by EM theory. Boyd believed that maneuverability was the key to insider an enemy's decision-making process, which he referred to as the OODA loop for observation orientation decision action. This method focused on designing aircraft that can conduct fast transients, rapid changes in speed, altitude, and direction, rather than relying solely on high speed. The McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle was the first aircraft to be given EM characteristics, but Boyd and his supporters thought that these performance criteria demanded a compact, lightweight aircraft with a larger, higher lift wing. The larger wing would minimize wing loading, while the smaller wing would minimize drag and increase the thrust-to-weight ratio. While the reduced wing loading tends to lower top speed and can shorten range, it increases payload capacity, and the range shortening can be made up for by adding more fuel to the larger wing. The General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon, now manufactured by Lockheed Martin, is the result of Boyd's fighter mafia's efforts. As a peace dividend, numerous governments drastically reduced their military spending after the Cold War ended in 1992. Stocks in the Air Force were reduced. Research and development initiatives for fifth-generation fighters suffered significant setbacks. During the early part of the 1990s, many shows were axed, and those that did survive were stretched out. While the technique of slowing down development lowers annual investment costs, it comes at the cost of longer-term increases in overall program and unit costs. However, it also made it possible for designers to utilize the outstanding developments that were occurring in the fields of computers, avionics, and other flight electronics, which were made possible in large part by the advancements made in microchip and semiconductor technologies in the 1980s and 1990s. This chance allowed designers to create redesigns or fourth-generation designs with vastly improved capabilities. Because of their intermediate status between the fourth and fifth generations and their contribution to the advancement of specific fifth-generation technologies, these enhanced designs have been given the name Generation 4.5 fighters. Fifth-generation fighters, which are currently at the forefront of fighter design, are distinguished by having been built from the ground up to operate in a network-centric combat environment and by having extremely low, all-aspect, multispectral signatures that make use of cutting-edge materials and shaping techniques. They possess multipurpose AESA radars with high data transmission bandwidth and low probability of intercept (LPI) capabilities. The 4.5th generation fighters' infrared search and track sensors for air-to-air combat and air-to-ground weapon delivery have been integrated with other sensors to create Situational Awareness IRST or SAIRST, which continuously monitors all targets of interest around the aircraft so the pilot need not hazard a guess when he glances. These sensors work in tandem with modern avionics, glass cockpits, helmet-mounted sights, which the F-22 does not yet have, and more secure, jamming-resistant LPI data links to provide multi-platform, multi-sensor data fusion for significantly better situational awareness while reducing the workload of the pilot. Avionics suites heavily rely on high-speed data lines, common modules, and very high-speed integrated circuit (VHSIC) technologies. Overall, it is asserted that the combination of all these components will provide fifth-generation fighters first look, first shot, first kill capability. Up until the late 1950s, fighters were usually solely equipped with weapons for air-to-air combat, while in World War II, unguided rockets were used mostly for air-to-ground and sparingly for air-to-air combat. Forward-guided missiles were first used for air-to-air warfare in the late 1950s. No matter what weapons were carried, warriors who by surprise or maneuver managed to get into a favorable firing position have typically succeeded in killing their opponent between 1/3 and 50% of the time. Since both types of missiles now have improved reliability, a fighter pilot can frequently avoid the risk of a close-quarters duel, where only the most competent and experienced fighter pilots tend to win and where even the best fighter pilot can just have bad luck. Air-to-air missile warfare is relatively simple when compared to surprised opponents who lack comparable capability and countermeasures, but it does require considerable experience and skill to take full advantage of complicated missile parameters in both attack and defense against competent opponents. Air-to-air missiles currently function as extremely effective force multipliers by partially automating air-to-air combat and decreasing reliance on gun kills, which are typically accomplished by just a small expert percentage of fighter pilots. That was for today. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel.